September 23rd, 1780. A dirt road near Tarrytown, New York. 3 militiamen step out of the trees and stop a lone rider. He wears a purple coat. He smiles. He is charming. Too charming. They tell him to take off his boots. And inside his stocking, folded flat against the sole of his foot, are 6 pages that could end the American Revolution before Christmas. The plans of West Point. Every cannon, every weakness, every gate that would be left open. The rider's name is Major John André, head of British intelligence, and the man who wrote those pages for him is an American hero, a general, a legend. His name is Benedict Arnold. Here is what Major André does not know as they pull the papers from his boot. He was never going to make it home, because for 2 years, a network of farmers, shopkeepers, and one woman with no name had been quietly wrapping a rope around the entire British intelligence operation in New York. They had no training, no weapons, no official existence. Washington himself never learned all of their names. History would call them the Culper Ring. And this is how 6 ordinary neighbors defeated the most powerful empire on earth. To understand why Washington needed ghosts, you have to see him lose. Autumn, 1776. New York City has fallen. The Continental Army is running, barefoot, starving, bleeding across New Jersey. Washington started the year with 20,000 men. By December, he has fewer than 3,000. The British own New York Harbor with more than 400 ships. It is the largest invasion fleet the world has ever assembled, and it is parked in America's front yard. Washington cannot outfight this enemy. So he makes a decision that generals of his era considered beneath their honor, dirty, ungentlemanly. He decides to outknow them. His first attempt is a disaster. He sends a volunteer into New York, a 21-year-old schoolteacher named Nathan Hale, brave, educated, handsome, and completely unqualified. Hale has no cover story that holds, no contacts, no invisible ink. He asks strangers loud questions in taverns, and a British officer simply pretends to be a fellow patriot, buys him a drink, and listens to him confess everything. On September 22nd, 1776, Nathan Hale is hanged without trial. His body is left swinging for 3 days as a warning. He was in enemy territory for 14 days. He sent back nothing. Washington learns the lesson written on that gallows. Heroes make terrible spies. What he needs are people so ordinary, so boring, so invisible, that no officer would ever waste a second look at them. The man he chooses to build this invisible army is a 24-year-old cavalry officer named Benjamin Tallmadge. And Tallmadge carries a wound that never closes. Nathan Hale was his best friend from Yale. He watched the war take him. Now he will make the British pay for it. Not with a sword, but with silence. Tallmadge does something no intelligence manual would ever recommend. And it turns out to be genius. He recruits his childhood friends, people from his tiny hometown of Setauket, Long Island, deep inside British-occupied territory. People he has known since they were barefoot boys chasing chickens. People who cannot be infiltrated, because they have trusted each other their entire lives. The first is Abraham Woodhull, a cabbage farmer, nervous, thin, a man whose hands shake when redcoats knock on his door. And that is exactly what makes him perfect, because no one suspects the frightened farmer. British officers are literally sleeping in his house, eating his food, laughing at his timid manners, while upstairs by candlelight. Woodhull writes down everything they say. He signs his reports with a name that does not exist. Samuel Culper. Washington himself helped invent it. A twisted version of Culpeper County, Virginia, where he worked as a young surveyor. Even the code name has a cover story, but Woodhull's nerves are eating him alive. Every hoofbeat on the road sounds like arrest. Every knock sounds like the gallows. At one point, a floorboard creaks while he is writing, and he leaps up in such panic that he knocks the table over and destroys his own report. He needs help. He needs someone closer to the center of British power. He finds someone better than he could have dreamed. Robert Townsend, a quiet Quaker merchant living in the heart of British New York. Townsend is the opposite of a spy. He is against violence. He dresses plainly. He barely speaks. But look at what this silent man is holding. He runs a dry goods store where British officers shop and gossip. He co-owns a coffee house where they drink and brag. And he writes a society column for a loyalist newspaper. Read that again. British commanders are lining up to give interviews to Washington's top spy in New York. They hand him troop movements dressed up as party gossip. They boast about upcoming operations to impress him. Townsend becomes Samuel Culper Jr. And the Empire never notices that the polite man writing down their words is aiming them like a cannon at London. Now the ring faces its hardest problem. New York and Washington's headquarters are more than 100 miles apart. Through checkpoints, patrols, and waters ruled by the Royal Navy. How do you move a secret through all of that? Every single week? You build a machine out of neighbors. Townsend gathers intelligence in the city. A smuggler named Austin Rowe rides it 55 miles east to Setauket, hiding messages in bundles of dry goods, in hollowed-out supplies, once reportedly at the bottom of a barrel. 55 miles, past bandit country, past British checkpoints, week after week, for years. Rowe leaves the message in a buried box in Woodhull's cow pasture. Woodhull retrieves it, then waits for a signal that the next courier is ready. And that signal is Laundry. Anna Strong, a mother of 9, whose own husband is rotting on a British prison ship. She hangs her washing where it can be seen across the bay. A black petticoat on the line means the boatman Caleb Brewster has arrived. The number of white handkerchiefs beside it tells him which of 6 hidden coves Brewster is waiting in. British soldiers march past that clothesline every day. They see a housewife doing chores. They are looking at a military communication system. Brewster, a whaleboat captain with arms like ship cables and a grin that begged for a fight, rows the messages across Long Island Sound at night, dodging warships. From there, riders relay them north to Washington's own desk, city to farm, farm to shore, shore to sea, sea to the general. The Empire is being defeated by a supply chain of cabbages and laundry. But paper can hang a man, so the ring learns to make words disappear. Washington obtains something the spies call the sympathetic stain, a chemical ink developed by a doctor in London whose brother happened to sit in the Continental Congress. Write with it, and the page turns blank as the ink dries. Only a second chemical, brushed on later, makes the letters bloom back into view, like a ghost stepping out of the paper. Townsend writes his reports between the lines of ordinary business letters, sometimes on blank pages slipped into stacks of paper, where Washington's staff knows to count, and find the invisible sheet, and for everything else. There is the code book. Tolmage builds a dictionary of 763 numbers. 711 means George Washington. 727 means New York. Woodhull is 722, even if a courier is captured. The British would be reading a page of arithmetic. And then there is entry 355. In Tolmage's codebook, the number simply translates to lady. In 1779, Woodhull writes to Washington that with the help of a certain lady of his acquaintance, he can outwit them all. Who was she? A woman inside Loyalist high society, someone close enough to British officers to hear what they only said after the second bottle of wine. Her name appears in no ledger, no pension record, no grave we can point to. History remembers her only as Agent 355. Remember that number, A, because this story is going to come back for her. By 1780, the machine is humming, and the Empire is about to feel it. That July, French warships finally arrive to join the revolution. 5,500 soldiers landing at Newport, Rhode Island, exhausted, seasick, half of them ill from the crossing. The British commander in New York sees the opportunity of the war, hit the French now, before they can even stand up straight, and crush the alliance in a single afternoon. He loads 8,000 troops onto transports. The revolution's last hope is about to be strangled in its crib, and the French have no idea anyone is coming. But a warning is already moving. Townsend's network catches the preparations in New York. The ships being loaded, the officers boarding. The message races along the chain. Rider, pasture, petticoat, whaleboat, and lands in Washington's hands with the fate of the Alliance inside it. Washington cannot stop the British fleet. He has no navy, so he reaches for a weapon no one can sink. A lie. He writes fake battle plans, describing an imminent American assault on New York City, complete with invented troop numbers. Then he arranges for those papers to fall into British hands. Some accounts say through a farmer who claimed he found them dropped on the road. The British commander reads them, panics, and orders his invasion fleet to turn around and rush home to defend the city. The attack on Newport dissolves. The French army lives. The same French army that, 1 year later, will stand beside Washington at Yorktown and end the war. No musket fired, no soldier lost. An invasion defeated by a farmer's handwriting. And this is exactly the part of history that never makes it into the paintings, which is why we dig for it here. This channel exists for the invisible stories that actually decided everything. If you want to keep uncovering them with us, subscribe now, because where this story goes next is betrayal. Because while the ring was saving the revolution from the outside, something was rotting it from within. His name was Benedict Arnold, and before he became the most hated name in America, he was its bravest soldier. At Saratoga, he charged into gunfire so recklessly that his own horse was shot from under him and his leg was shattered. Many historians argue America owes that victory. The victory that convinced France to join the war, largely to Arnold's insane courage. And how was he repaid? Passed over for promotion 5 times, accused of corruption by Congress, court-martialed, drowning in debt while lesser men collected glory. Pride is a wound, and an empire had the money to infect it. Through secret letters, Arnold opens negotiations with British intelligence. With Major John André himself, the polished spy master from our opening scene, Arnold's price for his soul, £20,000, millions in today's money. And what he offers in return is not information, it is West Point. Understand what West Point meant. The fortress controlled the Hudson River, the spine of America. Whoever held it could split New England from the rest of the colonies and win the war on a map without a single great battle. And Arnold does something that still chills historians. He asks Washington for command of West Point. Washington, who loves Arnold, who has defended him for years, gives it to him. Now watch the trap close in slow motion. Arnold begins quietly draining the fortress. Walls left unrepaired. Troops scattered on distant errands, supplies sold off, the strongest fort in America, being hollowed out from the inside by its own commander, while he smiles at dinner with the officers he is about to sell. But remember, the ring is listening. Months earlier, warnings had already begun to move through the network. Whispers from New York that the British were courting a highly placed American officer. Some accounts credit Agent 355 herself with catching the scent of the plot inside André's own social circle. No one could name the traitor yet, but the alarm was in the air. And Talmadge, the spy master who never forgot his hanged best friend, was paying attention. Then came September 23rd, 1780. The dirt road, the purple coat, the boots. André had met Arnold in secret to finalize the sale. But his escape ship was driven off by American cannon fire, stranding the British spy master on the wrong side of the lines. Forced to travel overland in disguise, he ran into 3 armed militiamen. And here fate laughs. André misread who they were and revealed himself as a British officer. To the wrong side, they searched him. They found West Point folded in his stocking. The papers were rushed up the chain of command toward an officer who could decide what they meant. That officer was Benjamin Talmadge, the best friend of Nathan Hale, was now staring at the greatest espionage catch of the entire war. Talmadge sees instantly what others miss: the handwriting on those pages, of the intimate knowledge of West Point, the pass André carries, signed by Arnold himself. But a less careful officer, following routine, had already sent a courtesy letter to General Arnold, politely informing him that a spy had been captured carrying his documents. The warning reaches Arnold at breakfast, minutes before Washington himself is due to arrive at his headquarters. Arnold rises from the table, kisses his wife, walks calmly to the river, and orders his bargemen to row him straight to a British warship. When Washington arrives and uncovers the truth, witnesses describe the moment the strongest man in America briefly broke. "Arnold has betrayed me," he said. "Whom can we trust now?" The Empire got Arnold, but it lost everything he was sold to deliver. West Point was reinforced within days. The Hudson stayed American. The knife aimed at the revolution's spine snapped in a stranger's boot. Major André was tried as a spy 10 days after his capture. On October 2nd, 1780, he was hanged. 4 years earlier, the British had hanged a 21-year-old American schoolteacher and left him swinging as a warning. Now the man overseeing British intelligence died on an American rope, with Nathan Hale's best friend standing in the crowd. The circle had closed. But espionage is a war where victories are paid for in silence. And someone paid. In the furious British crackdown that followed the Arnold affair, the network shuddered. Woodhull went quiet in terror, and according to tradition passed down through generations. A woman was arrested in New York, Agent 355. The story holds that she was thrown onto the prison ship Jersey, a floating hell in New York Harbor where more Americans died than in every battle of the entire war combined. Over 11,000 souls. In the dark below its decks, historians still argue over her fate. Some say she died there. Some say she never existed as a single woman at all. That the lady was several women, their identities dissolved into one number for their own protection. And maybe that is the most honest monument a spy can have. Not a statue, not a name, a question mark, standing guard forever. 1 year after Arnold's treason collapsed, the war reached its final act. At Yorktown, Washington trapped the British army. Alongside the same French forces the Ring had saved from ambush at Newport. On October 19, 1781, more than 7,000 British soldiers marched out and laid down their weapons. The Empire had lost, to colonists, to farmers. The British never found the Culper Ring. Not one member was ever unmasked by the enemy. Think about what that means. Years of operations inside the enemy's capital under the nose of the world's most powerful military. And a perfect record of invisibility. Washington never learned some of their identities. And they wanted it that way. Robert Townsend made Washington promise his name would never be revealed. He took the secret to his grave in 1838. The world only learned who Samuel Culper Jr. really was. In 1930, a historian matched the handwriting of the spy reports to Townsend's private letters. 150 years after the war, for a century and a half, America celebrated its independence without knowing who had actually secured it. The generals got the statues, the Ring got the silence they asked for. And here is the inversion at the heart of this whole story. Every quality the world calls weakness was their weapon. Woodhull's fear made him careful. Townsend's shyness made him trustworthy. Anna Strong's ordinary laundry made her unreadable. Their smallness was their armor. The British Empire was scanning the horizon for armies. It never thought to look at the clothesline. Nathan Hale, standing on the gallows, is said to have regretted that he had only one life to give for his country. The Culper Ring gave something rarer. They gave their names, their credit, their place in history, handed over willingly so that a nation could exist that would never know who to thank. Every democracy alive today stands, in some measure, on foundations laid by people history cannot even name. The documents got the ceremony and the signatures, But America's independence, B, was written twice. Once in ink the whole world could read, and once in ink that disappeared. If this story gripped you, subscribe right now. Because the archives are full of ghosts like these. Invisible people who tilted history and vanished. Next time, we open another sealed file. The past is not done confessing.